The most dangerous moment on a submarine is not when something goes wrong. It's when everything is going exactly right. Striments glowing, men at stations. January 8th, 2005. USS San Francisco, SSN 711. A Los Angeles-class nuclear attack submarine, 362 feet long, running at 33 knots, roughly 38 miles per hour, through the Western Pacific. Depth, 525 feet. The watchstanders are at their stations. The route has been plotted and approved. The commanding officer has signed off. The chart shows nothing ahead but open water. Everything checks out. The chart is wrong, and somewhere in its own fine print, the chart already said so. In 11 seconds, USS San Francisco will hit a mountain. And the question that nobody has fully answered since, not the Navy, not the courts, not the official investigation, is this. The warning was printed right there on the chart they were using. Everybody saw it. Nobody read it. How does that happen? That's the part no one talks about.
USS San Francisco departs Apra Harbor, Guam, in the pre-dawn hours of January 7th, 2005. The mission is routine: transit southwest to Brisbane, Australia, for a scheduled port call. It is the kind of assignment submarine crews don't think twice about. Open ocean passage, deep water, nothing in the way. Commander Kevin Mooney commands the boat. His crew of 137 officers, enlisted technicians, nuclear-trained specialists, has done this kind of run before. The navigation team charts a route through the Caroline Islands region. The NIMA nautical chart covering this section of the Pacific shows what submarine route planners want to see. Blue, featureless water. Depth readings in the thousands of feet. No obstructions marked, cleared for high-speed transit. What the chart also shows, in small print, in language so standard it appears on the majority of Pacific charts, is a disclaimer. It states, in plain terms, that this area has not been fully surveyed and may contain uncharted features. That disclaimer has been printed on charts since before most of these sailors were born. It has been read by hundreds of crews. No procedure in the U.S. Navy required anyone to treat it as a reason to slow down. In the mess, Machinist's mate, second class Joseph Allen Ashley, 24 years old, from Akron, Ohio, eats breakfast with his shipmates. He is a propulsion specialist, a man trained to keep a nuclear reactor running at peak efficiency. He is 4 years into his Navy career. He is good at his job. 200 miles ahead, rising 6,000 feet from the ocean floor to within a few hundred feet of the surface, a seamount sits in the dark. It has been there for 10 million years. It has never been measured. The chart says it does not exist. The ship is routine, the crew is competent, the chart is approved. And every one of those facts is about to mean nothing.
Understand the speed first. At 33 knots, flank speed, a Los Angeles-class submarine's forward sonar is effectively blind. The flow noise generated by the hull pushing through water at 38 miles per hour overwhelms the sonar system's ability to resolve what's ahead. The Navy knows this. The crew knows this. It is a designed trade-off. You run fast through open water and slow when you need to listen. The Caroline Islands region, per the chart, is open water, so they run fast. The decision to transit at flank speed was not made on January 8th. It was made in the route planning room in Guam the day before by people reviewing the same chart. It was approved up the chain. The commanding officer reviewed it. Standard procedure. Every box checked. What no procedure required, what no box asked for, was a question about the chart itself. Whether the chart's coverage was adequate, whether the disclaimer at the bottom meant something. whether no obstructions marked and no obstructions present were actually the same thing. They are not the same thing. And here is where this story stops being about a submarine accident and starts being about how institutions decide what counts as due diligence. At 11:42 a.m. local time on January 8th, the officer of the deck is at his station. The helmsman holds course. The diving officer holds depth. 525 feet, 33 knots. The chart says open water ahead. The seamount says otherwise. At 11:42 and 22 seconds, the bow sonar dome, the most expensive piece of acoustic equipment on the submarine, hits the leading face of an uncharted underwater mountain at 38 miles per hour. The force of impact is equivalent to a collision between two freight trains. The bow collapses inward. Men who are standing are suddenly airborne. Equipment tears from its mounts. In the mess, trays of food fly across the compartment. In the engineering spaces, men are thrown against pipes and bulkheads. The impact wave passes through the length of the vessel in less than a second. The submarine rides up and over the seamount. Forward momentum carries it across. 11 seconds from first contact to stillness.
Joseph Allen Ashley is 24 years old. He is from Akron, Ohio. He enlisted 4 years ago. He maintains the reactor. He is not in the forward section when the submarine hits the mountain, but the collision's force reaches him anyway. The trauma to his head is massive. His crewmates find him immediately. The submarine has a corpsman. The corpsman begins working, but there is no surgeon. There is no hospital. There is no evacuation. Not yet. They are 525 feet below the Pacific Ocean surface, 350 miles from Guam. In the control room, Commander Mooney receives damage reports in rapid sequence. The bow is destroyed. The forward ballast tank, which controls buoyancy at the nose of the vessel, is ruptured. Seawater is entering the forward compartments, but the pressure hull is intact. He orders emergency blow. Compressed air forces water from the ballast tanks. The submarine pitches upward, rising at a steep angle. It surfaces. Hatches open. Pacific sunlight hits faces that have been underwater for hours. The bow of USS San Francisco is unrecognizable, crumpled, torn. The sonar dome gone entirely. Inside, Joseph Ashley is dying. A Navy P-3, Orion maritime patrol aircraft, locates the stricken submarine within hours. A rescue swimmer is lowered. Ashley is transferred by helicopter to the Naval Hospital at Guam. On January 9th, 2005, 24 hours after the collision, Machinist's mate, second class, Joseph Allen Ashley, dies from his injuries. He is 24 years old. He was in the engineering section, doing his job, on an approved route, on a transit that every person above him in the chain of command had cleared. The mountain was there. The chart said it wasn't. 97 more sailors received treatment for injuries. 23 are serious. The submarine returns to Guam on the surface, unable to submerge, its sonar capability gone. The Navy convenes a court of inquiry within days. The findings are not complicated. The nautical chart used to plan the route carried a printed disclaimer warning of incomplete survey coverage. Route planners reviewed the chart. No one flagged the disclaimer. No procedure required them to. The crew executed the approved route correctly. The route was wrong, translated from official language. The Navy trained its crews to trust charts. The Navy's institutional culture produced crews that trusted charts. The chart was trusted. The chart was wrong. Commander Kevin Mooney is relieved of command. The executive officer and navigator receive administrative actions. Several watchstanders receive letters of reprimand. The accountability is documented and swift. Now ask the harder question, Who decided that the United States Navy would transit nuclear submarines through regions of the Pacific that had never been fully surveyed? And that this was acceptable because it had always been acceptable before? At the time of the accident, the U.S. had conducted high-resolution bathymetric surveys, the kind that would have found the seamount that destroyed USS San Francisco's bull on less than a quarter of the ocean floor. Significant portions of the Western Pacific, regularly transited by American submarines, were covered by charts based on survey data dating back decades, in some cases to World War II-era measurement techniques. No one was charged for that. The commanding officer's career ended. The institutional practice that put him in those waters with that chart continued, largely unchanged, for years. The punishment was real. Whether it was proportional depends on what question you choose to ask.
This story is not really about a submarine navigation failure. It's about what happens when any institution mistakes inherited certainty for actual knowledge. Every organization running your life operates on charts. Hospital protocols, aviation routing, financial risk models, building codes. Most of them were built by people who are now dead, using methods that have since been surpassed, in conditions that no longer fully apply. They are passed forward as fact. They are used as fact. No one questions them because questioning them has never been required, because the charts have always been close enough. Close enough is how you run a system. Occasionally, close enough kills someone who trusted the system completely. The seamount beneath USS San Francisco had sat in that position for 10 million years. It was measurable. A modern survey ship with multi-beam sonar could have mapped it in an afternoon. The reason it wasn't mapped is not that mapping was impossible, it's that no one had sufficient institutional reason to look. The chart said clear water. The chart came from somewhere authoritative, and authoritative was enough. A chart is not the ocean. It is a claim about the ocean, made at a specific moment with specific tools by people with specific limitations, then treated forever after as the ocean itself. The disclaimer on that chart wasn't incompetence. It was honest. It said, "We haven't fully looked here." The failure was not that the disclaimer existed. The failure was that honesty had been so routinely ignored that it stopped functioning as a warning. Joseph Ashley was 24 years old, and he was not navigating the submarine. He was maintaining its reactor. He trusted the system the way that everyone who has ever worked inside a functioning institution trusts it, because the system had never given him a reason not to. The most dangerous position you can occupy is not ignorance. It's the certainty that you have already done enough to know. After the accident, the US Navy commissioned a hydrographic survey of the collision site. The seamount was measured precisely. It rises from more than 6,000 feet below the surface to within approximately 350 feet of it, a vertical climb of nearly 6,000 feet across several miles of seafloor that every relevant chart had described as featureless deep water. It is now charted. It is now named. Any submarine transiting that region today knows it is there. It took a collision that destroyed a nuclear submarine's bow and killed a 24-year-old from Akron to make that happen. The Navy subsequently revised its route planning procedures to require explicit documentation that chart coverage limitations had been reviewed, and, where gaps exist, that route planners had actively accounted for them, rather than treating the absence of marked obstructions as proof there were none. The answer to why USS San Francisco was running at flank speed through unsurveyed water is not that anyone was reckless. It is that the institution had never experienced a cost for doing so before. The disclaimer had always been background noise. It had never mattered. And in a system optimized to move efficiently, what has never mattered gets treated as what will never matter, right up until the morning it does. Commander Mooney's career ended. Joseph Ashley's family received a flag. 97 other sailors healed, most of them, most of the way. New procedures were written, the seamount was charted, and the percentage of the deep ocean floor mapped to a resolution sufficient for safe submarine navigation remains to this day less than a quarter of the total. The rest is still out there, described on every chart the same way the seamount was, as water we haven't fully looked at yet, which, for 20 years, was close enough.
There are stories like this in every system you depend on, where the warning was printed, the procedure was followed, and someone died anyway. Subscribe, because there are more. Tell me in the comments, what map are you navigating by that you've never actually verified?